Hello, my name is Miguel Latronica, and I am here to tell you about a wonderful invention of mine called the Mighty Body Band Lite. This product is a wonderful fitness product for a whole body workout. It's great for yoga, it's great for Pilates, it's great for general fitness. It's a wonderful cross-training device, which I am 100% sure you will love. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So, the Mighty Body Band Lite, people order it from all around the world. They hook it up to their doors at home. They put sometimes an eye hook into the wall. They hang it from beams. They use it all over the world in gyms, in their homes, at the office. Some people even take it out on nature, on hikes when they're traveling at airports. It's very portable. It weighs under 3 pounds. It'll fit in your suitcase, taking up very little room. So I'd like to introduce you to what it is. So right off the bat, you'll see it's hanging from a door here. When you order the Mighty Body Band Lite, this is exactly what you get. And we're going to go over it piece by piece so you know what it is and how it works. So what I'll do is I'm going to open up this door and I'm going to take the portable door anchor off. So Sarah's going to zoom in, and you'll see this is a piece of foam, and it's about 2.5 inches in diameter right here, and it's held on to this 2-inch webbing with this metal O-ring, and this can come off. So you can hook this up to a wall, many different places. It also comes with a lateral door strap, so you can't hook it up to a door, tree, or something else. I'm going to snap it back in, and now that you know how this works, any door, I take the anchor, I set it behind the door, and then I close the door. Once I close the door, the first thing that I'm going to do is pull on it, and you'll see it doesn't go anywhere. The door closes into the door jamb. That's what keeps it in place, right? Now, you'll notice that this here is slack of one of the tails that actually move the band up and down. And I'm actually going to put this across on this little handy hook that I have on the door so that you can see the rest of the unit. So I'm going to take this off here. And this is such an ingenious design here. This band that you're looking at converts into many other things. It's not just a band for the thighs. It's not just a band for the body, for the arms, for the feet. I'm going to show you, you can do so many different things with it. So I'm going to set this down for one moment so that we can focus on this. So you'll see there's this nice white big, what we call ladder lock buckle, and that allows this to lengthen up to 5 feet away from the door. And conversely, if I want to retract it and pull it back, I take the tail, I pull it down, and it lifts the band back up. So very simple. And the other thing about this is that it pivots. There's a swivel hook, and the whole thing spins around, right? And I'm going to pull it back up. And now I'm going to come back down and grab the other assembly of the Mighty Body Band Lite. Now, I'm going to take the slack of the tail, put it off to the side, and I'm going to reconnect the lower assembly. Now, you know that there's an anchor point up here on the top, which we were looking at a little while ago. There's also another swivel right here. You see, Sarah's zooming in, how this just spins around, right? Comes off, easily attaches, right? And then, so we know when we lower this toe band 5 feet away, 3 feet away, 2 feet away, right? We work through different angles, which is part of the genius of how the band works. Now, you'll notice there's 2 handles. One over to the left and this one here to the right. So I can just when you take the Mighty Body Band out of the box, this is how it's assembled. I can spin this around, and then let's say I'm going to move out at an angle a little bit. So you can see I've got two handles right here. Now, this will hold my weight. I can pull with all my might, and it isn't going anywhere. I can allow myself to just be held up. My arms are slightly bent, my shoulders are protracted, right? And I just kind of get a sense for how the band works. Now, from here, I can reposition myself. I can just come down, let the head hang, do all kinds of things. This here, you'll notice, this is what we call the wingspan of the band, right? And I can turn around, again, it pivots, yes? And I can do a lot of nice work like this, working the external shoulder rotators. I can work with the triceps a little bit more here, the deltoids, a bunch of different things that we can do, right? Side body bends, all these different things like this, right? Now, before I get into some of the other designs and the different ways that the Mighty Body Band converts into a different design, I would like to show you this. Watch how when I pull, right, it adjusts, right? So part of the band, this outer webbing spins around through this 1.5-inch ring, okay? Having said that, I'm going to take my handles off. I'm going to set them down just for a moment, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you what it looks like with the handles off. So Sarah will zoom in, and then what I'm going to do is, again, turn this around. And again, I'm doing this just so that you can see what is happening with this. So there's two loops. There's this loop here, right, on the right, and there's this loop here on the left, okay? So, two parts. Now, I can take my band, I can lengthen it, let's say 4 feet, right? And again, Sarah will zoom in. I have two loops. So first thing that I can do, if I wanted to, maybe I'll take all the slack out. I'm going to let go of the unit, and I'm going to disconnect one of the loops. I'm going to wrap it around my legs like this, and then secure it. And then I'm going to tighten it up. Now, we have one loop on one thigh, and then I'm going to take the other loop and make sure there are no twists in it, just like this, and put into place. And again, tighten it up. So you'll hear it tightening up nice and easy. Now, once I get it into place, I'm going to pull the unit into place. I tighten one loop, and then I tighten the next. So here, you get all the slack out. Now Sarah is going to view in, and then what I'm going to do is walk forward. Now when I walk forward, watch what happens. I hold this out, the thighs spin internally, just like that. Yeah? So here, with this band, when I start to move forward like this, it's spinning the thighs internally, and then I come down into a nice forward bend. Now, as I relax into the pose, I can feel this spinning in place. My piriformis, my gluteus maximus, everything is releasing. And then you can see my hands are not on the floor at all, right? They're up to my low back, and so I'm decompressing into the spinal column. It feels really nice for the hamstrings, great thing to do after any run, and then I slowly come on up. What's the first function of the band? Helping to rotate parts of the body. Sometimes I'm going to disconnect it. It's very easy. One, and then the other. I can reconnect it. First loop, second loop. All right? I'm going to give myself a little bit more slack. Just like this. And when I give myself some slack, you can see now as I pull it, right? I've got these here. I want to stick my arms through it. So maybe I need a little more slack off of one. And then off of the other. Now you'll see my loops are much larger. So I can take my tab slider, which you'll get to know on the band, and it keeps all the hardware out of the way. Notice again, it adjusts, right? I can pull this band and it tightens up on one side. So what I do, I take one arm through the top and then the other. So here, I can walk forward. Now, as I walk forward and walk my feet back, it's really nice for the protraction of the shoulder blades. My arms come back nice and easy. I can let my head hang. I can play around nice and easy, right? It pulls the shoulder blades back. It feels really good. I can move it slightly out to the side, so it's not directly on top of the shoulder blades, and again, pull them back and down. Of course, these are all very simple things. So I come in, and again, it holds me into place. So even for a simple pose like Virabhadrasana 1, right, it's helping to keep the symmetry into the shoulders so I can slowly perfect the pose, working my right hip back, getting some extensioning, taking out the sway of the low back, right? Really very nice. So simple, yet such an ingenious way to work through your practice. I'm going to slip the two off, and then what I'm going to do is disconnect it again. So now I went from a double loop to a triple loop. So here, I went from a double loop, and now I'm going to go into a single loop. So you'll see it's no longer two loops, right? It's just two pieces of a strap, or of the Mighty Body Band Elite. Now, what happens here is from the double loop, I'm going to go into a single loop. So I'm going to grab one part of the buckle and put it into the other. So it's a female buckle that goes into a male, and I snap it into place. Now, as I hold the Mighty Body Band Lite up, you will see that it converted from two loops into a single loop. Now the beauty is, if you can see the hardware and the buckles at the bottom, well, let's just say I wanted to move those out of the way because I wanted to do a forward bend. I just simply roll and pull this up and around. That way, when I take this up over my head like this into what we call the single loop, and I lean forward. So I place this right beneath the crease of the hips, and here, now I'm into a down dog again. So I had the down dog the first time with a loop around each thigh, the double loops. Now it's a single loop. So I come on in, and then again, it helps to keep the symmetry of the hips. It helps to really work and get the traction into the legs and the spinal column, yeah? I can do all these different things, right? Breathing in to the pose. I could even work into some nice twists, right? This way, that way. Come on up. I'm just trying to give you an example. It's not that this is an instructional video as much as it is that I'm showing you the features. So here, even a simple back bend, right? That single loop holds me into place. I come up, back down, right? Breathing into it. I can do so many things. You name the pose, and there's always a way to work into it with the Mighty Body Band Lite. So here, it's the band is pulling me into my left thigh, and I come into the pose nice and easy. So it helps to support me into the pose. It's a container upon which I work so that I become so it's such a compelling feeling. I become so interactive with all the work that I'm doing. I can slowly come on up. I'm only showing one side of this to illustrate what's happening. Now, what's going to happen here is, let's say I want to come into a pose like Utkatasana. Now, I'm going to move to the side just so Sarah can view in. There's many places that you place the Mighty Body Band around different parts of the body. Here we call it, sometimes when you put it at the back of the hips, we'll say the top of the pocket, middle of the pocket, bottom of the pocket, and that's the placement of the band. Here, it's pretty much at the middle of the pocket. So when I come into this pose, it's like I'm sitting into into an imaginary chair. That's the name of the pose, Utkatasana. And I come down. And a lot of times then we take our arms up and I inhale, exhale down, right? So we start to fire up all these different spindles of the muscles, those muscle fibers, fire up. And I feel them being fired up as I work into the pose. Again, this is the anti-gravitational component of how the Mighty Body Band works, yeah? I can do really nice things like if I come into here like this, right? Wide angle poses, breathing in, and it supports me nice and easy. So we're trying to work outside of the domain of habit when we use the Mighty Body Band. So rather than taking it up out of the head, it's very simple. I could just disconnect it, take it from behind, and reconnect it. Up over the head, out to the feet, connect, disconnect the buckles. So I'm going to retract it back up now. And you can hear how that works. Pivot it around, and then I'm going to place one more time the band up over the hook. So now you see again, against the door, a single loop. Single loop, disconnect it, pull this down, converts back into the patented technology of the double loop, just like that. Now remember, when we first showed this to you, it had the two handles. And the handles, right, which I'm going to grab again, handles are hanging like this. Yet, a third use, okay? Now, watch what happens. I already went over how this gave you a short wingspan, and I showed you how you can use it to do all these different things. What I hadn't shown you was how this band, you can disconnect, right? So we have the double loops. Now we have two pieces of the webbing, and it converts into handles. There's a handle system now. So, we do have other versions of the Mighty Body Band. We have the Mighty Body Band Elite. We have the Mighty Body Band Professional. And this particular model was very ingenious in that we took so many of the elements of the Mighty Body Band Elite and put them into this version, which affords you so many of the things that the Elite would do. Now you see, I have a much wider, what we said was wingspan. I can open up my arms firmly, right? And I can do a lot of the same stuff that I did before. I can come forward, dropping into the pose. I can do the same thing as I was doing before. Whatever it is, I can do my lateral bends, but also because the band moves, it's designed, right, like a seesaw, right, you pull it. So sometimes we do these really nice, interesting things where we know it moves, and I inhale, and watch what happens with my left hand here. I inhale, and then I exhale. I let myself come forward. And then here, where you work that left arm, and then exhaling, open up into the right. You see? So again, a whole different function of how the Mighty Body Band converts from a double loop to a single loop to short handles to long handles, okay? So let's just say that my handles are where they're at. I lower them and I lift this up. So you can see that the handles are approximately a foot or 12 inches from the floor. So what I'm going to do is take off my shoes, and I want to show you a couple of things that we could do with the band. I'm going to lower it just a little bit more, maybe 8 inches from the floor. I'm going to take the tail off, and then watch this. I come down so as to go in down dog. Now you'll notice, matter of fact, I'm going to show you so Sarah can view in. You'll notice, of course, these handles detach. We already know that. We've seen that. They come off. But you'll notice that here there's a piece of webbing. I don't know, can you see that, Sarah? This piece of webbing here. And then there's a hard molded piece. So we used a hard molded piece for the hands, and we used this. I showed you one example how the arms fit through and it came onto the shoulders, but also the feet slip in here. So it doesn't hurt. It's not just so discomforting, right? So for an example, when I come in, I'm going to put one foot in like that, and then the other. Now, once the feet are in, I can come forward like this. And watch what I do from here. I can slowly come on up like this, and I can do some nice pike work, right? I can take them out to the side, like that. So I can really work the core. I can take the hands back a little bit more, and then it gets a little bit more challenging because here I learn to take the hips far up above the shoulder and exhale back down nice and easy. Inhale, exhale. Take the legs out, back in, right? All these different things. Why, you could even come down, open up, and nice and easy learn how to do handstands as well, or headstands. I come back down, right? It allows me the ability to go into the pose without putting too much tension into the neck. I'm going to take the hands, the feet back out, walk myself forward, pause just for a moment. Very nice. Then I'm going to come on out. What I'm going to show you next is this clever little accessory we call the PNF loop. Now, Sarah will view in on it, and this PNF loop, again, there's a swivel hook on the bottom, there's a metal O-ring on the top, and this part here is actually a very long bungee cord, right? And I'm going to show you how this works. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to remove the Lucky 8, which converts from a double to a single to handles, and I'm going to set it down. Then I'm going to take the PNF loop, which incidentally is a very long, it's an acronym. It stands for proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. And I'm going to hook it up to the toe band, and you'll see how it just slides in. And these are two little antennas. We call them the antennas of the PNF. Now, I'm going to show you this without putting the Lucky 8 back on. So what I want to do is, you'll see, if I pull this, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it's holding my body up. It's static. The whole band, everything that I've been showing you up to this point has been static. So with this accessory, what happens is you can take off the silver metal O-ring from the swivel hook, and now watch what happens. Watch what happens now. Do you see? It's elastic. And so what happens is now we do a lot of our work dynamically. It's no longer static. Having said that, I'm going to hook the Mighty Body Band, the Lucky 8, back up. Now, we know we're on the long portion of the handles. All right, so the first thing, I'm going to see if I can come down, and Sarah's going to show you, right, how it moves like that. And the more force, the deeper you go, okay? So here, the same thing, right? I can come on forward, and I can slowly, and you see, when I come down, Sarah's maybe looking at the PNF loop, and it stretches as I come down, and then it pulls me back up, right? Can do the other side nice and easy, the same thing. I'm showing you this because I have the handles in place, yeah? Down, back up, nice and easy. It's a very long span. Look how easy it is to turn it into the shortened version. I go back to my double loops. Just like that. As soon as I've done that, you will notice now that the whole unit is much shorter. You see? And yet, I can still do all the same things that I've done without being so far away, yeah? Like that. The same thing. You can do things like this, and you'll see it's just a little bit more dynamic, right? And it absorbs the shock, so there's never any reason to work in a jarring way into your work. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the handles off, like this. I'm going to set the handles down, and then what I'm going to do is, again, take it from a double loop into a single loop. So I disconnect it. You see how easy that is? Like 1, 2, 3. I want to move the hardware out of the way, so I pull it slightly up, and then I go ahead and place it up over the head. Now we know that this PNF loop, right, will allow me the ability to do the same stuff that I've done before. So, Sarah, can you see how this moves up and down? Viewing in, and I drop down and it stretches. I come on up. So a lot of times we do work like this. Or if I move to the side, just so Sarah can get a really nice shot, you'll see, and I can walk my feet forward. And this way, it's very dynamic. I exhale down, it helps to pull me back up. And that's the kind of work that we do. Really nice, deep, delicious work. Forward bend, down dog, same thing. You can see, right? The bungee cord keeps me into place. And even here, when I come down into it, right? Like this, it's really nice. It's very dynamic. The Mighty Body Band Lite holds up to 225 pounds, and that's it. And a lot of what's happening is the body's actually being tricked. It usually stretches 15, 20% deeper than you normally would go, and there's no pain. There's very little, if any, discomfort, right? And that's what we do. Sometimes we take the band like this, right? And we work into, right? And what happens is it takes all the slack out of all the muscle groups, which is why we work so much deeper into the pose. For back bends, amazing device. For the back bends, so I'm into place, you can actually just see, again, how it stretches. But here, I showed you back bend earlier, statically. So here, right? Look at this. And then it helps to pull me back up. So exhale, lowers me down. Inhale, pulls me back up, right? Easy. And when you really start to get warmed up, right, then your hands come down. Beautiful. So there's no compression into the low back. Your SI joint, your sacroiliac region, is always in a nice place as you're opening up into the front body, right? A back bend is a front body stretch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and disconnect it this way. Just take it back, reach it around, and reconnect it. And what I'm going to do is tighten it all up. I'm going to put the tail off to the side. I'm going to remove the PNF accessory to the MBB Lite because, again, this is an accessory. So the next thing I want to show you, there's a couple other accessories that you can order. They're optional. This will do many of the things that the Mighty Body Band Elite does, but one of the things that it doesn't have, and not everybody needs this, is a little bit of cushion. So what we've done at Yoga Bent when we designed this, so moving my tail out of the way, just so you can see how this freely hangs, right? Two sides. I'm going to come around and grab my, what we call a hip extender. Now the hip extender looks like this. It's one long piece. You'll see there's really nice heavy-duty twill fabric on one side, and then a really nice soft foam on the other side. And you'll notice if I turn this around, there are two female aluminum metal buckles, just like that. So what's really nice about this is this so conveniently hooks up like this. Do you see? Now we have what we call a swing or a sling of the MBB Lite. So I can take my unit down, the toe band. Now I've got this. It's a little thicker. It's a little cushier. It's got the foam. It gives me the ability now to go in. And don't kid yourself. Sometimes having just the webbing itself is really nice because it gets into the crease. But this feels really nice and comforting. I can hang out here for an extended period of time without it feeling like it's too much. Yeah? And the same thing even in the Utkatasana, right? I can lengthen this a little bit more, come back, drop down, and it just feels really nice. Or for side bends, a lot of times what's nice is we come up like this, and then we drop down like this. Right? And the cush from the hip extender is just really nice, okay? Or the same thing for the back bends, right? If I want a little bit more cush, I can even place it here, walk my feet forward, take my arms up, and it just feels really nice. So, a nice option to have, okay? If I want to get a nice release into the piriformis, I can lengthen this out all the way, just like that. And then I take my unit like this. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to get it so that it's nice and level. I'm going to spin the unit around. So now, if Sarah can see that, it looks like a B. I step into the B like this, and I lift it up. Then, when I walk forward, you can see the unit starting to tighten up. So it comes up around the inside of the thighs, and the same thing. It's not as intense as when you use the double loops, but it's what I call the down and dirty way of getting in for a nice quick release of the low back, especially after back bends and things like that. And what precipitated this was, a lot of times when we do back bends, the feet, as we go into it, they turn out to the side and they pinch into the SI joint. So when you do a pose like this, one with the double loops on, right, you'll have this slightly beneath the gluteal fold here from behind. And then watch what happens as I walk my feet back. Right? Then I take my arms up. So you'll notice my feet are working back. And what happens is I would fall. I would fall if I didn't have this flat on my tummy. But I do have it. It holds me into place. It keeps the sacrum from collapsing. And then I slowly drop back like that. Now, if I wanted to take it back more, as long as I know I have a good footing and my feet aren't going to slip, right? It just depends on how flexible you are. You come back. And you're leaning forward, so the thighs are spinning internally, keeping that ill tensioning out from the low back. And then you'll step on back, and the unit just falls right off, and then you'll come on out of it, right? So I'm going to retract this back up one more time, and then I'm going to take off the optional hip extender from one side and then the other. So again, second optional piece. First one, PNF loop, which will allow for your dynamic work, right? It's got a bungee cord built into it, and incidentally, it's no longer on bungee because I bypassed it. If I take this off, now it's bungee. So that's really nice. You could leave it on all the time and then just do a quick change out. But again, it doesn't come standard with the MBB Lite package. It is an accessory. That's the first one. And then the second one, which we were just working with, you'll see the foam side, and then you'll see the nice fabric sewn onto the back. These buckles will last a lifetime. These buckles are heavy duty, they're easy to use, they snap in and out of place, making your work, it's like a breeze. So now I'm going to show you, again, the difference between using the Mighty Body Band Elite handles versus the handles that come with the PNF accessory for the Mighty Body Band Lite. So I have an appropriate adjustment or height from the floor, okay? And we know we're on dynamic. So here, I take my legs through, one and then the other. And because the cords are so much longer, you can see I wasn't able to do this at all. Sometimes what's really nice is I come down like this, and to work with the core, I extend the toes out. I inhale, see? And the breath is really important. You'll notice when I go, it's because whenever you use the band, especially with the bungee cords, you always want to do it on an exhalation and a firm pulse. So you inhale, watch how the feet go down, like that. You hold it and then release, right? Then after that, maybe I walk myself slightly forward, and keep this on, and then nice and easy. So now I'm floating, right? And then same thing, I can work with my pikes, but I get a lot more height with the pike than I do with just the PNF loop, right? I take them in. If I want to come into Bakasana, I learn to get my distance just right, and then I take the hands here. I'm going to come back even a little more so I can get my knees to the outside of the shoulders. And this should be just about right. So I come on up like that. And the same thing, I can come down and look at this. Holds me into place. Now, ideally, I want my feet to be back a little bit more. So I come down like this. To get my feet back a little bit more, I just use my hands back, right? And then slowly the same thing. I come on up and look at this. I come up, like that, hold in the pose, into a nice full handstand. And this is cool work here. It's pretty advanced, but you learn, right, to get it just right over time. If you're just simply working on the pikes, right, that's all. Just take it up, and you build up the strength to go into it. What's nice is, same thing, I can turn around and do anything else that I want to do. Again, exhaling, pulling the knees in, right? And that's the work. I'm going to take my feet out. I'm going to come back up, retract the accessory, Mighty Body Band Elite handles, right where it needs to be. And I suppose I should show you that from the bungee cords, I'm going to now switch them so that the handles are now connected to the white ropes. So if you see, handles connected only to the white ropes, right? That way, I know it no longer stretches. No longer. So there's a lot of nice work. And again, all the stuff I can do with the Mighty Body Band Lite, but you can see that these handles, they work very differently by virtue of having the pulley, right? And the MBB Lite does it, but it doesn't have a pulley. It's just the webbing that works around itself. So I'm going to remove the MBB Elite handle system. And I'm going to set it to the side. And then we're going to go back and we're going to reconnect the Mighty Body Band Lite. So here we have it. Upper part, right? Color coded. Silver to silver. That's into place. The green is the toe bend. It adjusts up to 5 feet away from the anchor point, which in this case is the door, right? I'm going to move that to the side just for now. And then we know we have the two ends of what would otherwise be a double loop. 1, 2, or a single loop. And getting the hardware out of the way, it spins in place, and voila. Now remember, one thing that we didn't put back up that are included are these handles. These handles are indeed included with the MBB Lite. This here is mimicking the MBB Elite handle system. It just doesn't have bungee cords built into it, right? But you can still move it back and forth and do some of the most basic stuff with it. So just to be clear, in this presentation here, what you see right here when you order the Mighty Body Band Lite, this is what you get. You get the portable anchor, which works by putting it behind the back of a door. You get the toe band, right? Toe band adjusts, yeah, up to 5 feet. You get what we call the Lucky 8, which connects to the toe band, just like that. And of course, you get the handles. So there are, the first component is the handles. The second component is the Lucky 8, which converts into many different things. The third component is the toe band, and the fourth component is the portable anchor point. That's it. You can see how ingenious it is. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. And incidentally, we had said that the Mighty Body Band Elite is a $299 item. The MBB Lite is $129. $129 for something that is so resourceful, something that you can upgrade with accessories to make it more dynamic, all for a very affordable cost of $129. So, Miguel Latronica, I bid you peace, much light, and happy exercising. Thank you and namaste.